Hi, I'm Claire. Welcome to my poetry workshop on writing history. Now, what do I mean by writing history? Well, I guess what I mean is writing about something that will be important history, and coronavirus definitely is that. All of us have been affected, all of us have had to live in crazy ways we've never had to in our lives, and all of us have been worried. Plus, all of us have had a great deal of time to think often. Think about things we've never had to think about before, and notice things that we normally wouldn't notice because we're too busy. So, in tackling this subject, I thought it would be really good to challenge people to start writing about their life under coronavirus. Now, as a poet, I come across two major fears that stop people trying out poetry, and the first one is the fear of having no ideas. I think a lot of people have the very mistaken idea that a poem sort of plops out fully formed, a bit like birth. It doesn't. A poem starts with one or two ideas, grows slowly, and undergoes a lot of cuttings to become the end product. So that's definitely not something to be afraid of. You can spend as long on it as you like. Now, the second fear is that you'll have an idea, but you won't know how to turn your idea into a poem. You won't know how to play with the structures. You won't know how to experiment with your language. And a lot of people worry about looking silly. Well, I can't stop all embarrassment, but what I can do is give you a series of exercises which will help you approach writing a poem. Now, in this series about writing history, I have done 3 worksheets for you. Now, this video really follows the prose poem worksheet more than others, but if you wanted to have a go at the others, starting off with this exercise I'm about to show you now will certainly help you start those other ones too. So take this as an across-the-board kind of exercise. The first thing you need to write a poem, I'm at my desk here, is something like this. Now, I'm picky about my notebooks, but you can write on anything you like. You can write on yourself, for all I care. I mean, you can write on your phone, literally anything that comes to hand, provided it doesn't belong to somebody else. Don't do that. You need this really to just record your material and ideas. Now, material is what I mean by the snippets of something which might make a poem. And that really can be anything you like. It can be things people say to you over the day. It can be images of things you notice. It can be sentences that come off the radio or off the television. And it could be snatches of songs that you might be listening to while you're doing something else. In this notebook or on the piece of paper, on your own skin, on whatever you want to write on, preferably with biro, please, nothing scary. What you need to do is keep a journal of ideas first and foremost. So get used to the habit of having something nearby that you can write with at all times. Record your dreams, record things that sound good or feel a bit significant, or even if they don't feel significant, just get used to writing things down as an experiment. And then you'll come back to it, and quite often you'll have things that look like this. Like, you might have a spider diagram, or you might have pages of notes, a bit like this. Now, this is the magic iPad, which makes everything go backwards, so you can't really read my writing. I mean, even if it's the right way around, you can't really read it, but it's probably a relief, because I'm not sure I'd want people to be able to understand everything I wrote down if they were snooping. Some embarrassing stuff in my notes. Either way, you get the picture. This is how to record the sort of stuff that will grow into a poem. That will come naturally the more you do it. So treat it like the gym, or treat it like your performance exercise as if you're a musician. Write and write and write, get your ideas down, and get used to the idea that certain things will seem like they don't mean anything just by themselves, but joined together with a chain of ideas, they might produce something interesting. So once you've got your scribbled notes, here's a more concrete exercise you can do. I want you to either take a sentence from your notes or just a topic keyword. So, for example, I've called my notes the Corona Diaries, and I set myself the task of spending exactly 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, writing down everything that came into my head on the subject of my life under coronavirus. So that leaves you a very wide margin. You can do what you like. And this is what I came up with. So the light's not very good. And as you see, it's backwards. But it's got its title, it's got some little sideways notes, but this is the spiel. And it goes on to the next page that I wrote. Now, I'll read you some of it just to give you an idea. Now, this is called continuous writing, and the idea behind continuous writing is you're not allowed to stop, you're not allowed to think, you're not allowed to change anything. You just write like you're speaking to a friend. Just get it all down, don't stop, even if you think it's nonsense, even if all you're writing is one word repeatedly while you get your thoughts together. And then, once you stop, you can start looking at which are the gems in those sentences and which ones you might like to take further. So, for example, if I read what I've got out of my 5 minutes, it sounds something like this. You never appreciate the light so much as you do now. Going outside cannot be taken for granted anymore. When will we ever do such things again without preparation, without awareness of the space we might keep around us? The tree has begun to sprout tiny green leaves beneath the blossom. Cherry it is not the kind we can eat. There is a new white horse in the field. His coat is shaggier than most, like he's walked through briars. They have tied him to a tree and put down a yellow bucket he can't reach properly. He walks round and round, tangling himself in the branches. I do not want to feel badly about people. I know it's not right. I should focus on the people who left him. A lad in a fleece, the girl in wellies. Why do they not come and see him twice a day? She seemed good with him, though, holding his head. He let her catch him and stroke his neck. He kicked the neighbour when she went down to check him. Maybe he's just the kind of horse who doesn't mind being alone. So why does he stand there looking like that? Like he's the only boulder on a beach. Like he's not okay with it. He didn't even know what to do with a carrot when the neighbour gave it to him. Out there the evening light is falling like mist, so delicately, a greyish pink. You could drink it. I put bread to rise. I'm telling my time by bread now, and by other things, like when my sister does her singing practice. I love to listen to her sad songs. Crying helps me feel weathered and strong and strange. I'm addicted to the smell of bread. I work in the afternoon when the sun comes in through the kitchen window, like a blessing. It feels appropriate that bread should be holy. Dough is electric. The elasticity of it is addictive. I put it down without breaking the air, and it will grow a beautiful crust. The crust makes an ecstatic noise under the knife. Now that is ecstasy. A crust of bread. Yeah. As you can see, it makes no sense and is utterly personal. Now, I happen to be isolating in an area where there's a lot of fields, so I'm probably very lucky compared to some. But you'll notice this exercise works wherever you are, because all you have to write down is what you're feeling and thinking. So once you've done that, what you've got to do is take the text and start highlighting it bit by bit. So I use a black biro, so I might highlight this sentence here, I might highlight one over here, I might highlight these. The trick is to highlight, I'd say about 10 lines at first, 10 sentences that feel particularly important or good. And then you can go from there. So I'm going to highlight, you never appreciate the light so much as you do now. You notice I haven't highlighted the whole sentence, just that bit, because that feels the right bit to highlight. Okay. The tree has begun to sprout tiny green leaves beneath the blossom. I'm highlighting that too. Cherry it is not the kind we can eat. Okay. See, because the time's kind of frustrating, the image of a cherry you can't eat actually feels fairly relevant, so I'm going to keep that. There's a new white horse in the field. I'm going to highlight that. They have tied him to a tree and put down a yellow bucket he can't reach. Okay, that's highlighted. He walks round and round, tangling himself in the branches. I've highlighted all that because it feels important. I haven't highlighted that his coat is shaggier than most. Maybe I'll highlight that later. Actually, no, I will highlight that, because that sounds good on its own. I don't need to add the rest of the sentence, like he's travelled through briars. I think that feels a bit too much. So I've cut that out. I do not want to feel badly about people. I know it is not right. I should focus on the people who left him. I'm going to highlight those bits. I may highlight something about the people later, but let's go on for now. He kicked the neighbour when she went down to check him. I'll highlight that. Maybe he's just the kind of horse who doesn't mind being alone. I'll put that too. Why does he stand there looking like that? Like he's the only boulder on a beach. I like that. I'm going to highlight that. The next bit isn't really horsey. I mean, this is going to probably turn into a prose poem with a few different parts to it. So it doesn't have to be on the subject of the horse, but I feel now, having highlighted that amount, that the poem is probably going to centre around the horse. So I'm going to pick a couple more things that aren't too far away from him. I might ignore the bits about bread for now, and maybe make that into a different poem. See, more than one poem can grow out of this. So, out there the evening light is falling like mist. You could drink it. Now, I might change that word mist because it doesn't seem to make sense in the context of drinking. This is just something I wrote off on the hoof. No pun intended. So, let's see. I'm telling my time by bread now and by other things. I love to listen to her sad songs. I'm going to cut out her and I'm going to just put sad songs. Crying helps me feel weathered. I don't need to add strong or strange. I just like the word weathered, so I'll keep that in. So, that is ecstasy, a crust of bread. I'm going to keep that one at the end as well because I really like that sentence. So now, my page looks something like this. You see the lines? So, the next job is to write down the lines that particularly grip me. And what you want to do is get a blank page and just write them on top of each other. So, if I write down, for example, you never appreciate the light so much as you do now. So with each sentence, what you want to do is write it down and then stack the next one underneath it, like building blocks. It won't form the perfect poem, but it'll start forming a poem. And this is a really good way to get it shaped, just to play with it. So I've written down, you never appreciate the light so much as you do now. What else is light? The evening light is falling. Like rain. You could drink it. So that looks something like this. You see how I've stacked the lines on top of each other? I'm sorry this is backwards, by the way. I would do something about that if I could. Now, the next bit. The tree has begun to sprout tiny green leaves beneath the blossom. And on this line, instead of writing the whole sentence on one go, I'm going to write the sentence in two halves and make two lines out of it. The tree has begun to sprout tiny green leaves beneath the blossom. Next. Cherry it is not. Not the kind we can eat. I've split that into 2 lines as well, so the first of those 2 lines ends in not, and the second one, by chance, starts with not. So actually that creates quite a nice little echo, and I like that effect. You can literally make these effects up along the way if they occur to you, and that's the beauty of this exercise. So I'm going to move the poem on to the horse. There is a new white horse in the field. His coat is shaggier than most. They have tied him to a tree. In fact, I'll put the tree, and then it will link the horse and the tree. They have tied him to the tree and put down a yellow bucket. That he can't reach properly. He walks round and round. Tangling himself. In the branches. I do not want to feel badly. And I'm going to cut the line here and put as a line by itself about people. Now, I won't do the whole thing, but I want to show you the first half of what could be a poem. Now look, I've stacked the lines up on top of each other like that, and if you read them, it goes like this. You never appreciate the light so much as you do now. The evening light is falling like rain. You could drink it. The tree has begun to sprout. Tiny green leaves beneath the blossom. Cherry it is not the kind we can eat. There is a new white horse in the field. His coat is shaggier than most. They have tied him to the tree and put down a yellow bucket that he can't reach properly. He walks round and round, tangling himself in the branches. I do not want to feel badly about people. And if you really want to mix it up, you can go on from there, of course. You can do the whole thing, put the lines in order, and put them one on top of the other. But if you want to put a line as a sort of wild card and just see how it rings out somewhere you don't expect it to go, I'm going to choose the line, for example, crying makes me feel weathered. And I'm going to put that in the middle near the cherry. So this is why my notebook gets so scribbled in, because I've shoved that little line in there just to see how it feels. And if I feel for it later, I'll take it out again. So that's how you start a new poem. And from there, you can start playing with rhyme, you can change words, you can do whatever you like. Notice I changed mist to rain, you can change colours. But once you start doing this on a regular basis, then you'll get more confident with playing with your own work, realising there's really no right answer, and actually half the time you're just experimenting with the music of the words and how they fit together. And how you choose to fit them together is really up to you. So this is my challenge to you. Write yourself your own Corona poem, stacking sentences like that on top of each other from a journal or from a train of thought. Challenge yourself to that 5 minutes and just see what comes out. And I bet it'll be better than you think. Above all, have fun, listen to your favourite music, and enjoy it. Because self-expression is one of the biggest reliefs in the world when we're all in a situation like this. And we all need to talk in different ways. Enjoy. Keep writing. Keep your spirits up.